Welcome back to Greels Reels, everybody. Today's guest is the newest member of the Reading Royals in the ECHL, Dominic Cormier. How you doing, bud?
Good, how are you?
Good, man. It's been a while since we last chatted.
Yeah, since I think it was in Halifax and that little national tournament, so been a
Yeah.
while. It goes in March, so
And I think you mentioned to me that you're staying at your girlfriend's house there now.
yeah, I'm living here for the summer. I came here actually right after we got back from Halifax. I came here. I went home for about a week or two, and then I came back here to train and work.
Fair enough. So the first thing I actually wanted to chat with you about today is, you're from Moncton, New Brunswick, which is honestly a great hockey town. You got the Wildcats there, and a lot of great history, a lot of solid players coming from that organization, and just that area in general for people who grew up there. For you, what was your experience like?
It was pretty cool. I always played throughout the years. I always played like Adam Double A or Pee Wee or whatever. And then my first year Bantam actually, I was still a smaller player. Didn't really grow, just a smaller D man. So then me and my parents started looking at other options because we weren't sure if I would make the midget team my first year. So we actually decided that my second year Bantam, instead of playing Bantam in New Brunswick and Moncton, I'd go to prep school down in the States. So I moved there when I went there for my second year Bantam, and then I stayed down there for 3 years. So it was a good experience. Playing with all my friends growing up was awesome, and then branching out and going down south was a great experience for me too.
Yeah, so I mean that actually leads us right into what else I wanted to talk about because I mean prep school down in the States. I know a few guys personally who have done it. For you, what I guess you mentioned that you were a little bit of a smaller D man and you weren't sure if you were going to make that roster there in Moncton. But what else really drove you to? Because you were with Eaglebrook
Yeah,
and another academy school, I believe,
yeah.
too.
I went to Eaglebrook from for 2 years, and then I went to Cushing Academy for 1 year.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, what kind of made those be the destination of choice?
The first school I went to, Eaglebrook, it was kind of between two schools. It was between there and Cardigan Mountain, but two rival schools. One's in Massachusetts and one's in New Hampshire. And then it just came down to where I felt more comfortable. I toured both. I stayed a couple days at both schools, and then when it came down to choosing which one I would want to go to, my parents led it up to me, let me choose which one I felt more comfortable at. And while I was at Eaglebrook, I enjoyed my time. The guys were really good there to me within the week that I was there or whatever. So it worked out really well.
Yeah. What's I mean, looking back now, because it's almost six to 7 years later. Just what still sticks out in terms of memories going the prep school route down in the States.
I think for me, it was the biggest memory was making those friends from all around the world. My first year, I had my roommate was from Mexico. The second year, my roommate was from Japan and Mexico again, but a different guy. And then just all the little memories you get from in the dorms and like always being together with your friends all the time, always in the class together. All that stuff is just stuff I'll never forget.
So they were your roommates? Were they also teammates on the teams?
No, no. So at Eaglebrook, there was no hockey players that could live together. That
Okay.
was the rule they had. So you got to know more people, sort of, rather than just hanging out with the hockey guys. So yeah, so they both played soccer. So it was good to, especially at first, branching out and meeting new people. Before going, I only knew one other person, a guy from Fredericton, New Brunswick. We played summer hockey all the years growing up, so we knew each other. So like we had someone to hang out with at the start, but after a bit, we were hanging out in big groups with people from all around the world. So
No, I actually really like that format where they kind of get you guys to branch out and meet
yeah,
some new people because I mean, as great as it is to be like a part of a sports organization and a team, sometimes you really do get stuck within that group and you don't get to meet a whole lot of new people.
exactly. Yeah, so that was big for me at the start too, especially not knowing many people. rather than just sticking with all the hockey guys, the 17 or whatever guys we had on the team. I got to branch out and meet people that I probably wouldn't have if I would have just stayed with the hockey guys. So.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, playing down in the States during that time, you become a prospect for the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, and, you end up on a few people's draft boards and stuff like that. But, a lot of the players who, get drafted in those leagues are typically playing right in the backyards of a lot of the organizations in that league and stuff like that. So when you were going through that process, you were down in the States. I mean, what was that like? Did you have to kind of maybe do a little bit of adjustments? Were there maybe sometimes when you kind of had to reach out, or what was that process really looking like there?
So my draft year was my second year at Eaglebrook, my last year there. And before going there, I wasn't really well known, sort of. I was just a smaller D man, just good skater, good puck mover. That's about it. Not much else really. So then by going to Eaglebrook, it really helped me. I wouldn't say it was like the most hockey school, sort of, but they were more on academics. So at the time, that was a big focus for me. And but then throughout the season, I was lucky. My summer coach in the summer, Danny Flynn, the old coach for the Moncton Wildcats, he came down to actually scout me. I think one or two times, and I was lucky. Also, the scout for Rimouski came down to scout me. So as the season went along, I was in touch with both them. Talked to a few other teams also, but it was mostly just them two. And then throughout the summer, I was just hoping I could get drafted. But at the time that I was in prep school, I was more focused on going to college in the States, going that route. So from my first year at Eaglebrook to my last, I made a name for myself. I was doing every extra thing I could, so push myself to be better.
Mm-hmm. So I guess what drove you towards, I guess, the Q route as opposed to what you thought would be maybe the NCAA?
I think for me, the biggest thing was after my first year at Cushing Academy, I was in 10th grade then, so I would have had to do at least 2 more years of school and then probably go play juniors for a couple of years and then jump into college. Whereas in junior, they said they let me have a direct impact right away as a 17-year-old in Rimouski. It was the year after that they won the cup there, so they had some opening spots. So for me, it was just a matter of time. Especially coming back home, being a Canadian, obviously major junior is a huge part of hockey players growing up. I remember when I was younger going to every Moncton Wildcats game, while watching the players at practice and all that stuff. So once that opportunity came up, I couldn't say no. It was especially the coaching staff in Rimouski, they helped me through the whole thing. So it was a good choice.
Yeah, fair enough. So before we get into, I guess, your time in Rimouski, you mentioned they came down to scout you, and ultimately they ended up drafting you there in 2014. I mean, let's go back right to the Q draft. I mean, when you hear your name called by Rimouski in that 6th round there, what was that like for you?
Well, actually, I wasn't at the draft. I didn't go because I didn't want to get my hopes down. Say if I didn't get picked or whatever that case may be. So I stayed home with my parents. We were just watching TV, following the draft on the computer, and so I actually had a bit of a feeling I was going to go somewhere in the 6th round. There was Moncton that was picking at I'm going to say 90, and I got picked at 95. So when Moncton picked at 90, I didn't see my name, so I kind of figured that I was going to Rimouski at 95 there. So, but obviously it was a rush. I was just really happy. My parents were really happy for me too. It was a good moment for us as a family.
Mm-hmm. And so, like you mentioned there before, I mean, you got into a Rimouski team that just won the Quebec League. So, I mean, already there's a lot of established players in that locker room, and it's an organization that is proven to be a winner. So, what was it like just kind of walking in as a rookie into that scene?
Well, my first year at the camp, my 16 year was the year that they won. So when I first got there, it was a pretty big eye opener. Seeing big names like Frederic Gauthier, big guys like that who are now playing in the NHL. just their work ethic, how big they are, and their dedication to the game. You know, it just showed how much more you need to do to get to that next level. And then my 17-year camp, I felt more comfortable. Felt I was more in shape, more ready to go, more more mature and all that stuff. So then I had a very good camp, and then with the leaders there, I kind of made friends from the year before, so they helped me out the next year, and then they offered me a spot on the team. So it was a great experience at camp.
Hmm. And so, I mean, adjusting to the Q style of play, was there any major differences that you noticed, just coming from prep school down in the States?
I think the biggest one was the physicality. I mean, in prep school, there was, for example, my last year at Cushing, I was playing the playoff series. The last playoff series I had, I was against Ryan Donato, plays for the Minnesota Wild now. So he was really good player back then too. There was a bunch of those guys like draft picks on my team. On my prep school team, I think we had 4 draft picks that year in the NHL. So the speed was there, but I think the biggest thing was the physicality in major junior. More men there, bigger guys, all that stuff.
Fair enough. And I guess you've mentioned just being, that smaller frame, like defenseman, and more kind of, I guess, relying on your skill. How did you, I guess, adjust and incorporate that physicality when you, started playing those games with Rimouski?
I think it was just a matter of confidence. The trainer there, that we were in the gym a lot. My first couple weeks throughout the whole season actually, and then the coaches there were helping me. Not necessarily going into the corner face first, getting nailed every game. It was a they were teaching me how to do other things, how to get the pucks in easier, how to get into the corner easier, and then obviously just upping my D zone. That was a big thing that needed help there. So throughout the years there, they just helped me through all the little things that I needed help with.
Fair enough. And you really found consistency in your game early. I mean, really steadily, always kind of, getting on the score sheet every now and then and playing a pretty sound game. What really accredited to that?
I think it was just the confidence that I built up over the days and over the weeks that passed. My first year, there was me and another first year, so we played together actually, and we really leaned on this the D-man named Simon Bork, drafted by Montreal Canadiens. He really showed us the way. He was a great leader for me, especially we're the same sort of style of game. So he really taught me a lot. He was like a big brother to me there. So then once he was gone, he was traded to St. John when they went for their run for the Mem Cup. So then once he was gone, it was me and the other guy my age who kind of took over there, and we ran with it.
Fair enough. And so, a few things before we kind of move on to your time in Victoriaville. But so with Rimouski, one thing that I'm familiar with that team is like they had a lot of Newfoundlanders, and me being a Newfoundlander myself, I got to ask you, what was it like to have a few of those guys in the locker room? Because I mean, you've actually even now, like of late, with the the GGs, another classic Newfoundlander there, Cody Drover. You've played with a few of them now. What's that like?
So actually, in Rimouski, I lived with Tyler Boland.
Okay.
So we lived together for 2 years. His 19 year and his 20 year, we lived together. That would have been my 17 and 18 year. So he was awesome. He was like a big brother to me. We were always together. And then obviously the other Newfoundlander, I was good friends with Andrew Pico. All of us were kind of hanging out all the time. So I spent a lot of time in Rimouski with those two guys.
Have you made the trip to Newfoundland yet?
No, I have not. I don't know what I'm really waiting for, but I have not been to Newfoundland.
We got to get you here sometime. You screeched in and all that good stuff.
For sure.
So you also got to play with Harrods too, and I wanted to ask you what was Harrods like in the Q game, because I got to meet him this past season and whatnot, and he's a great guy, talented player. But what was he like back in the Q?
So our 18 year, I think that would have been my second year in junior in Rimouski. He came to camp, and obviously Rimouski being a more French team, French city, we were best friends since probably day one. We met each other, and then we were probably together every day. I was just driving the morning to the rinks, so spent a lot of time together in Rimouski, and then we were lucky enough. He got traded to St. John after that, and I went to Victo, and then he went to Charlottetown after that. But then we were lucky enough. We were kind of talking before going to university, and then lucky enough to have a year last year together.
Mm-hmm. And the last thing actually in Rimouski before we talk about that deal in Victoriaville, so the 17-18 year, that was when the year was pretty much split with in between Rimouski and Victoriaville. Just because the NHL draft, you got to have a first-hand seat of like Alexei Lafreniere and whatnot. So I mean, I've seen him play at the prospects game. He very much is like, there's no question why he's, projected to go first overall. But for you, what was it like just, those 33 games to, really be around him in that sense?
So yeah, we were lucky enough to get that first overall pick going into my 19 year. And as soon as he got into the locker room, even though he was still 15 at the time, he was a leader. He had maturity that no other 15-year-old that had. And as soon as we stepped on the ice, we knew that he was going to be a real player. Right away, he was telling us what to do, like how to help us, how everything. And I think the most important part was he was coachable. He was talkable for us too. He wasn't just telling us what to do. He would take what we had to say too. So he was an unbelievable player at his first year, and then that brought to his second year and the year after, and now he's going to go first overall. So there's no reason that I don't see him not going first.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, right now, as it stands, it's looking like it's probably going to be the Rangers. Despite maybe a trade happening for that first overall pick, or who knows? I mean, I can't see anybody not taking him first overall, but you never know how it all, I guess, plays out until it does. But
Yeah,
let's
exactly.
just say he ends up going to the Rangers. What kind of impact do you think he'll have right there in his first season? Because it's almost very similar to what you had mentioned in terms of that Rimouski locker room where he gets picked up first overall. He comes in as 15, which is, really young in that locker room, and he's going to be, I guess, essentially doing that again. Do you kind of see the same kind of setup, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I watched him a bit play last year, and he was even better, which I didn't think was possible. Now he's getting bigger, so I don't see him having a problem in the pro game at all. His speed's there, his size is there, his shots there, everything's there. It's just going to be a matter of if he puts everything together, but I'm sure he will, and I'm sure if he goes to the Rangers, I'm sure he'll have an immediate impact right away.
Yeah, no, it's no trouble to tell, I guess, why he is being described as a a generational player. But yeah, so halfway through that year, Victoriaville ends up being your new destination. What was the first immediate response there with finding out that you were being dealt to that city?
So actually, I knew I was going to get traded about. I think we were leaving the Christmas break started, say, on the 18th. I think I knew on the 10th of December that I was going to be traded. They had reached out to me to see if I'd be interested in all that stuff. At first, it was a tough decision. I mean, I'd spent 2.5 years in Rimouski. All those guys that were now my age, we all started together. It was tough at the start. But then you go down the Victoriaville roster and you see the big names that they had there going for the cup run. So it obviously helped my career getting traded to Victo for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, how was it, being welcomed into that organization? Were there guys that you kind of clicked with right away there?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I was traded, I got a message on Instagram from Max Contois. So that was pretty big. I mean, captain of the World Juniors, playing in the NHL now. So yeah, that was big for me getting involved right away. And then, I think every guy reached out at the start to welcome me to the team, and that they're happy to have me there. So it was comforting for me to get that when I first got traded.
Yeah, I guess it's no trouble to tell why Comtois got the captaincy in
Yeah.
the World Juniors. Then, if he's the first guy ringing your phone when you get dealt to the city.
And I think he was already at World Juniors his 18 year, and he still took the time to reach out. So it was good to see. It was one of those things where I felt comfortable right from the start, and they felt comfortable with me moving in. So.
Mhm. And so, I mean, take me through just that transition of you're so kind of focused in and dialed in with performing with Rimouski and making sure that you guys can have as much success as you possibly can, and now all of a sudden you're like it's flipped on a dime and it's Victoriaville and aiming up for a playoff run there.
Yeah, so actually that year Rimouski was also going for a playoff run. And both teams were going neck and neck for one of the top teams in the league. So for me, not a whole lot changed. I mean, the guys obviously changed, the city changed, but for me, at the end of the day, it was just one goal and trying to win the cup. And in Victo, the team, we had a great team. From our first top forward to our bottom forward, they were all guys that can score the score, and then yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then in your last year there, you get recognized as a leader in the locker room. You get an A on your chest. How's that? Like, I mean, what does that mean to you? Because I mean, this is a group that you've only really been there half a season, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the coaches had trusted me from day one, and I had trusted in the coach. I mean, we had a great relationship. Louis Robitaille is now the coach for Gatineau in the major juniors. So I think right from when I got traded, once he called me, we had an instant bond that was going to be good. And then obviously getting the A on my jersey was a big for me, especially being there for half a year. We had I think 19-year-olds the year before, so just being picked as a 20 for the next season was big. We knew that we wouldn't have the team we did the year before, but I was looking forward to taking on those younger kids, showing them what it takes to hopefully they can win the cup in a couple of years in Victo.
Yeah, and so one thing that is very apparent in junior hockey is if you load up and you kind of have like a one really strong year where there's a possibility of a deep playoff run, it's tough to get back in that situation. And you see a lot of teams, whether they were maybe a powerhouse top of the standings to now they might just be squeaking into the playoffs, or if they were like middle of the pack or even like top 3 top 4 teams, now all of a sudden they're at the bottom of the standings. What do you think it really says about that team that you had in your like in the second season of Victoriaville, where you were able to very much kind of replicate and get into the same position as you were the year before?
Yeah, I think obviously all the leaders on the team, we all had to step it up. We had a great goalie, Cote Cazenave, who's now going to University of Trois-Rivières next season. We had LaFrance as our captain. He had a great season last year with Trois-Rivières. And the other guys all stepped up. I mean, we didn't have that big name that we did the year before, like Comtois, Abramov, those guys. But everybody stepped up. We all played as a team, and we got out of the first round with a win. So that was a big accomplishment for our team.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you very much contributed, on the offensive side. You were leading the team in points in terms of deferred defensemen. So I mean, just going back to like your game style and stuff like that, what really I guess kind of clicked where you were producing to a level of almost every second or third game you're putting points on the board.
I think it was the trust that the coaches had in me. They knew that my skills were to just go, just not hold back and just go. So once they really told me to just take it and go, I think that just helped me. It just made my game another notch. And then, I think working on my full 200-foot game allowed me to get those extra minutes throughout a game. So those extra minutes helped me get a few extra points or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm. And I guess what kind of advice would you give to people in a similar situation, smaller defensemen with more offensive prowess, just in their OA season, looking for whether it be a pro deal or a university to commit to?
I think the biggest thing is just because you're going to university doesn't mean it's over. I mean, last year or my 20 year, I didn't know what I was going to do yet. There was a few schools I was talking to, universities, and then I ultimately chose University of Ottawa. But just because you're going to university doesn't mean it's over at all. That league is really strong, big guys, strong guys, fast guys. So getting on the ice every day there is big. You're practicing with big guys, so you're still getting the reps you need. You're still getting all that. It's just a matter of if you're willing to put in a bit extra.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, so that's something we'll kind of dive into now and chat with is your time at the University of Ottawa. So I guess what really stuck out in terms of that being the destination where you wanted to be and play in that U Sport League?
I think the biggest thing for me was I knew a couple guys there. I was friends with Kyle Ward, Mike Poirier, and I knew the coach, Christian Gaudette, before going. Those guys really were texting me throughout the year saying how much they liked it and all that stuff. And then the fact that they weren't losing many guys at first was a bit weird. Was I going to step in and play, or was I just going to wait my turn? But I think for me it was just a matter of going to a place where they wanted me and I wanted that school. So at the end of the day, it came down to a few schools, but Ottawa was the one for me.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you were lucky enough to kind of see like immediate production. You put up 20 points in that rookie campaign. You're named OUA East All Rookie Team. You get to play you get to play alongside a guy like Nick Mattinen, who was your D partner for most of the year. And the other thing too is you're also going in as a rookie on a team that has like 17 graduating players. Just like with that opportunity and how it all kind of laid out, what do you really attest to being able to put up that many points in your first season?
I think it was the whole team in general. From top to bottom, those guys were there for me. I was there for them too. So it was ever since we first stepped on the ice together in Germany, I knew it was going to click well. It was right into my style of game. The coaching staff there, they pushed my style of game. They wanted my style of game. So that also helped me. Not being afraid to make a mistake, to skate with the puck a little. So that ultimately helped me in getting those achievements.
Mm-hmm. And so you guys, seen a great playoff run. Your first year, you get to be a part of that, which I mean, all the way to the Queen's Cup final, and then eventually to like the U Sport championship, which was very, it was a long time coming for that program. What was it like, just being in your situation of being one of the, that's your first season, and that was kind of where it all played out?
Well, obviously, seeing those guys' faces when they announced the Nationals was over was just devastating. I mean, those guys worked hard for 4 years. They were on the same team for 4 years, all that stuff, and then to see them not even see us get there, practice a few days, and then not even get a game in was tough. Even for me being a first year guy, you never want to go out like that. You just don't wish that on anyone. But throughout the year, the guys were always working hard. Even though that they were in their 4th year, they were working just as hard as anyone. Those guys wanted it more than anyone, and ultimately, I think that was why that we were able to have such a successful playoff run and move into nationals.
Now I want to talk about your D partner at the GGs for a little bit because I mean, in terms of just almost like difference in style of play and whatnot. And Mattinen still definitely puts up the points and is definitely on the offensive side too. But just you guys together, a pair. Like, I mean, what was it like to play with a guy like that? He's a former Toronto Maple Leafs draft pick. He's won a couple OHL championships along with like a Mem Cup. Played on like a really strong like London Knights team. So what was that relationship like?
I think at the start we clicked right away. 2 first-year guys. 2 D-men, one shoots left, one shoots right. It was just meant to be. I think our first game was in Waterloo together, and it worked, and that was all. And then our friendship grew from there. We were best friends throughout the whole year. So, but yeah, it was a great experience. That guy's got a lot of experience under his belt, being drafted, going to many NHL camps, going to many finals in the OHL, to Mem Cups and all that stuff. So his pedigree is real strong, and it was honestly awesome just to end up playing with him throughout more than half the season.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you mentioned he was at some NHL camps and stuff, which is actually why he didn't join us on the trip to Germany to start the year. And I almost forgot about that, but I do want to talk a little bit more about that because that was almost like your introduction to the GGs is going over and playing against some pro teams over in Germany there. Uh, what was that trip like for you? How did that really help you really, I guess, cement for what was going to be a great year to come?
I think it was just a good experience. All the guys were just happy to be there. We were going to play hockey in Germany. Like, what more could you ask for? I mean, I didn't know many of the guys before, but we were probably together for a week or two before we headed to Germany. So when we were going there, it was awesome. I mean, the 9 or whatever hour flight we had to take, all that stuff was just little bonding stuff. You know, walking around Germany, going to the rinks, all that was just different, and we were all experiencing it together. So it was awesome for all of us, I think, and it was ultimately there where I think I put my foot down and started playing hockey. So it was an awesome experience for everyone, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, getting to rip around on some Lime scooters
Yeah,
throughout the cities in Germany was definitely something to remember.
there's definitely a lot of memories that won't be forgotten. That's for sure.
So yeah, man, you finish up, like I said, great year. Now it's going to be looking like a little bit different for you once things kind of get started and going up again. So yeah, the Reading Royals, man. Tell me about that decision and how it kind of all played out.
I think for the decision was hard. I mean, those guys at Ottawa, I really enjoyed my time at Ottawa, even though it was only 1 year. I liked all the guys. The coaching staff was great. That was a really hard decision to say no to not going back. But so me and myself and Reading, that we were talking since probably about the start of summer, about options and that sort of stuff. And then ultimately they offered a contract, and being a hockey player, playing since I was 3 years old, seeing your first pro contract in front of you is, it was hard for me to say no. So obviously, I think I'm ready to take the next step in my hockey career. Um, but yeah,
No, man, it's definitely going to be exciting. What do you think are going to be some of your first expectations going into just your first season of pro?
I mean, I'm not quite sure what to expect yet. I mean, obviously the game's going to be a bit faster, the bigger guys, more aggressive, all that stuff. But I think that comes with wherever you move up in leagues. So I'm sure I'll be all right. I'm eager to meet the guys and get started, but for right now, we'll see what happens.
And do you know any of your teammates yet? I know, I guess things are a little bit different and how everything's going to shape up. But do you know any of your teammates yet?
No, I haven't met anyone yet. They actually just announced it a couple days ago, so I haven't reached out to anyone, or no one really. We haven't really reached out yet, so I'm eager to get started whenever we can.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess it's going to be completely different framework, and I mean, who knows really how it's all going to play out. So it's definitely going to be an interesting year for yourself for playing professional hockey for the first time.
Yeah, for sure. And right now we're supposed to start the season December 4th, so it's a little bit longer, but it is what it is. And we'll probably start camp around November 15th. So still a few more months of getting ready, preparing myself for a professional year. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Hmm. So I guess, do you know much about that city that you're going to? And is it?
No, not a whole lot. It's a
Yeah.
smaller city. It's not the same size as Ottawa, but seems like a nice city. The fans seem pretty dedicated to their team, and this is the 20th year, so I'm sure they're looking for a deep playoff run for their 20th year for their fans and the organization. So I'm proud to be a part of it, and hopefully we can go deep in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, that'll be exciting. And I guess one thing that just kind of clicked with me too is, I mean, you got the Newfoundland Growlers. So, I mean, once a road game comes, you'll finally get that trip to Newfoundland.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we might even be in the same division. So I think we're for sure going there once. I mean, it all depends obviously with the situation going on with COVID and stuff, but we're supposed to go there at least once, I think.
Yeah, no, hopefully that can kind of work itself out, and everybody can go forward with the best and like safest strategy. And so, I mean, kind of looking down the road, maybe just kind of imagining the next like 5 to 10 years for you. What do you hope that looks like?
I mean, hopefully I can keep getting the next contract, moving up in leagues. I'm going to take it one year at a time, even one day at a time for right now. But yeah, I hope to see myself either moving up in leagues in North America, or maybe even from the experience I had in Europe, maybe crossing the water and heading over there.
Hmm. And yeah, I guess honestly, Dom, man, that's everything that I really have for you today. So this is actually the part of the podcast where I just hand the show over to you. So I mean, it's your show. You can talk about whatever you want, whether it's a life lesson or a story or whatever it may be. The show is very much yours.
All right. I think his biggest life lesson is to never give up. For me, it was a big move, but taking risks, heading over down south when I was a young age, heading over there alone without my parents and all that. I took a big risk, and honestly, I don't think I'd be where I am today in my hockey or my academic or any of that if I didn't take that risk. So don't be afraid to take that risk and work hard to make that risk pay off.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's a great place to leave things off on. Dom, man, I appreciate you sitting down and taking the time to chat today. Yeah, man, it was great. It was nice catching up. Hopefully, I can see you in some EHL games soon.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time.
All right, man. Uh, okay, guys, that's it for today. That's all I got for you. Thanks so much for watching and listening. I do recommend go check out Dom on social media. He's got a great career, headed for him and stuff like that, and it's definitely something that you want to follow along for the journey. But yeah, if you enjoyed it, leave us. If you enjoyed today's podcast, leave us a review. Share it with a friend. And in the meantime, stay best kind.